Hello, everyone. Welcome to the June 24th Helm Dev Meeting 2021. Um, I'm going to paste the... Oh, actually, it looks like maybe Bridget already just pasted the link to the docs. Awesome. Um, I will be hosting today, or moderating today. Um, Andy will be doing notes, and Adam will be doing issue triage. So the first thing is we have a couple of announcements. Um, who whose announcements are these? Does anyone want to do the patch release announcement? I could just say it. Um, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Farina? Not Farina?
Huh?
Do you want
Oh, the
to
announcement. My name was
skip,
put on it. All right. So I'm
skip
sure
over all the
Bridget did that as
forward?
she does every time. So the next patch release is set for July 14th. That is Helm 3.6.2. There's a milestone for it. So maintainers, please review the stuff in that milestone so we can get some bug fixes out. That's it.
Awesome. Okay, Mr. Butcher, you want to give your announcement?
Yep. So this, I think it was on Monday of this week, Martin Hickey was voted in as a new Helm org maintainer. So as a reminder, the organization maintainers are responsible for kind of all the decision making that happens across different projects like chart testing and Helm and things like that, and is largely administrative in nature. But we try and keep a standard sized board. And when Vic Iglesias took the emeritus status, we had an opening. Martin Hickey has now filled that opening. So congratulations to Martin. And we're looking forward to assigning all of our work items to you. Also related, Martin has been championing a Helm plugin called, is it Make Kube APIs? Is that what it is, Matt Farina?
Map Cube APIs. Map.
And that we have now also voted to include that as one of the official Helm sub projects. So we will be migrating that project over from Martin Hickey / Map Kube APIs into Helm Map Kube APIs. So pretty excited about both of those announcements. Martin has been busy, so that's some big news for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and I just pasted a link for the Helm governance, just for anyone who may not be familiar with what Dr. Butcher just said. It outlines the different roles, including org maintainers too. So great. We have some discussion topics. Bridget, you've got the first one.
I do. And I know I keep asking about this, but we've been talking for a while about archiving the Helm hub repo. And I know that there were tasks that I think Farina and perhaps others were working on to wind that down. And I'm wondering if there's migration steps that remain or if we can archive that repo for Helm Hub.
Yeah.
I think we can archive it.
I was going to say, Matt, I think the last step was we wanted to wait. And I think we've done
I think we've done that. There was also a step where we had to do some DNS trickery. So that way the artifact hub took hold of the DNS so that queries from older versions of Helm through the CLI to hit the API would go over there. We maintained control for a while, but we actually ended up handing off the DNS name so that they can use it. We can always take it back. But that routes now and they're able to manage that. And that's been happening for a long time. So that was the last thing that I think we had to do. So I think it can be archived now.
Yeah, I am not aware of any issues that have come up that we have not fixed. Right, Farina? Okay.
It's all good to me.
Okay, so who's taking the action item of clicking the clicky to archive on GitHub?
You want me to do the PR, Matt or Farina, and you can...
Well, I think it's just a button now. It's in the settings as an admin to go in and click the archive button. I think that's it. If you want to go do it.
Yeah, we haven't. I just mean also adding the obsolete notice. We have like a temporary one, and I know we've both done a bunch of them. So
we don't have. No, we have the notice up there that it's, oh yeah, the obsolete on the about. Yeah, go
Just
ahead.
simple. Just a
But that,
simple.
yeah, those things. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. Thanks, Bridget.
That's all I wanted there. Thanks.
All right. Matt Farina, do you wanna get into your next discussion item about managed fields?
Sure. I just wanted to say, Kubernetes 118 added something new called managed fields. It's under metadata. I don't know if anybody else has run into this. If you actually go do, if you're using kubectl prior to 121, and you go and you stick something out to YAML, all of a sudden you'll notice this giant metadata area that is like exploded with additional fields. They're managed fields. Now in 121, they put it behind a flag, so they don't show by default and you have to opt into them with a flag. But it's this whole new thing called managed fields, and it's used with kind of patching. Here's what somebody said when they uploaded it, and then these other things came along and altered the actual values. You can see what the original values are. It's used in patching and some of the other stuff, but it's new. And so I thought I would tell folks about it. In fact, in Helm, when we upgraded our kube client, one of the things that managed fields do, because it's an array of more than one thing, can go modify and or have original data and things like that in there. Helm was saying it was Go HTTP client was what Helm was putting up there because we had never set some internal values on our own use of the kube client. And so it ended up defaulting to that through some series of events. I'm working on a PR to fix it, but I just thought it was one of those things that I didn't think most folks realized landed. In the issue that I had for it, I actually put a link to a video in there. So for folks who are interested in things happening under the hood in Kubernetes, this changed in 118, which means people are now starting to discover it. It's worth going to take a look.
The user server-side apply, and it is a pain in the butt to try to go through the output if you don't have 121.
Yeah. I mean, it like doubles or triples the output of getting an object and piping it to YAML. And in the kubectl 121, they put that behind a flag because it was annoying everybody. It's delightful. So just so you know, there's a video on why it's there, but that is one of those changes that's hitting for people. That's it. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thanks, Matt. That's awesome. Okay, so now people have an issue that they can follow.
And the issue is we're going to get it fixed so that it says Helm, or if somebody's using the Helm package, the appropriate thing. I've got a PR partially working right now, making a few tweaks to it. I'll have that up with tests probably tomorrow.
Awesome. Okay, and you also have the next talking point, or the next discussion item about OCI indexes.
Yeah, I mean, so OCI stuff is, moving along here, and Josh is doing a bunch of stuff with it, and we can put charts in there. But one of the problems that we have with OCI, and I was really hoping we would have a better solution to, is getting all that metadata, right? You want to use something like, say, Helm search to search through your stuff. You can't do it with stuff in OCI registries because you've got no search API. Now, the OCI, well, can you all hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right. So the OCI has, the OCI, sorry, it is this mic. The OCI has never put in a search API. It was one of those things I said, maybe it should be on top of the OCI distribution spec. And it was one of those things that was, it just never landed, which means we didn't have a search API. That also means passing around and caching metadata, doing that stuff is kind of difficult. Over on Hipper, one of the projects that I'm tinkering with, we have talked about the idea of sticking index files, right? Index.yaml or something like that into OCI registries. And then you add that as an endpoint as something, and then that points to other OCI things. And it gives you the ability to have all of those indexes and metadata be available. And I think, Butcher, you brought something like this up to me the other day as a side thought and conversation. So I was curious what other people thought about this.
Yep. Butcher, you and I and Adam kind of talked about this when we were reviewing the OCI HIP6 PR last week. And one of the troubles that we were thinking about is if we were talking about an index file being uploaded to OCI, is that you'd basically have to manage that file on every single upload, and there would be race conditions and a bunch of other different related issues that would come to that. And then it also comes to the question of what's the advantage that OCI is really giving it to us if we're just re-implementing the entire chart repository API and just storing it in OCI? Because I mean, that at that point, that's exactly what the chart repository API is, right? It's just an HTTP endpoint hosts an index.yaml file, and that points to a bunch of chart repository or chart index, or not chart indexes, chart packages and their provenance files. And isn't that exactly what we're doing with the OCI registry in some aspects? So I thought that we would get to the point where the OCI registry would have functionality like that, so we could do things like looking up tags and doing search APIs and things like that. But I'm having a tough time finding those things inside of when it's not available in distribution anymore.
Yeah, so to give an example of how the race conditions occur, assume Scott and I are each pushing up a Helm chart at approximately the same time. Both of us would have to download the index file. Each of us would have to locally generate a new index file, and then we would both push the index file. So the last one in wins on that one, because they're the ones who set that's the client that sets the tag to head or latest or whatever the tag is you use for it. And there's no mechanism at all in OCI to prevent that kind of situation. So we would have to basically implement a locking system on top of OCI. It would be like implementing CVS in OCI.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages of Chart Museum's architecture, is that the index file is generated based on the content that's been uploaded. But if we're utilizing the distribution API servers, as in like what's hosted on Azure ACR, what's hosted on Docker Hub, what's hosted on Quay, we can't run a small daemon to automatically generate an index file to do that for us. So we'd have to do some kind of upload and content, not trust system, but basically we'd have to do some kind of locking mechanism, like what Butcher mentioned.
Hey,
and that would be global, right? Or like per account.
Yeah, one other issue too would be what manages that index. If it's Helm, the like CLI Helm, then people using the API directly, like the Go libraries, how would it be managed then if stuff's getting pushed up? It'd very much have to be something built into the push. And then also there's other ways to push up to registries, and then the index would not be updated.
The interesting thing, can I just jump in for a second? The interesting thing is we've had this same issue with chart repositories as well. There is the ability to have race conditions, and it's happened sometimes with updating the index file. And the way that we've done it is it's really just been on a per source ownership basis to make sure that they control it. Like let's just say you have CI pushing to like multiple CI points of view pushing to one chart repository. We have that exact same issue. I'm not really sure that, I guess my question is, do we actually, A, can we really solve this? And B, if we can't, because the registry spec the registries don't really give us the ability to do that, do we need to? Can we just simply make a caveat for this? I mean, let's say, just as another weird example, container images are supposed to be, well, they're not all idempotent container tags, right? Rolling tags are not, but ideally there's a level at which they are. but yet there's no mechanism preventing two owners of the same container registry from just continuing to push different content with that same container. That's why we have SHAs and stuff, right? So I guess what I'm saying is this a problem we even need to solve?
I was totally gonna go there. I put a comment in the chat. Because there's no search API, this is the same problem that containers have. And I'm almost like, as time goes on with me, like I'm almost weary to upgrade things without locking SHAs and things like that. So I would prefer, I understand like Helm has this existing repo system, but I guess my question is, yeah, why are we, is it to have parity with Helm repo?
It's for end user functionality here, right? So one of the things you have in Helm is you can do things like Helm search, right? You can search for stuff. There is no way to do that with OCI registries. It's not functionally capable.
But you have like sites like Docker Hub, right? And so I think when I'm going to look for, I'm not using the Docker command line when I'm looking for the next image I need to use. I'm going to Docker Hub, where I'm going.
Well, that highlights a problem though, right? Because Docker Hub is one site doing one set of hosting. These days, if I'm going to go look for images, they're scattered across GitHub Container Registry, Docker Hub. They might be in Azure. They're all over the place, and there actually isn't one place to do it. It's actually easier for me to find the project that I want and see if they've got some official location that I can do it, because it's all become decentralized. And if, you know, me working at a company, I've got my company's repositories and I've got some public ones. Now I want to search for something across the ones that I've already deemed. How do I find it? I don't have one way. I can say, oh, go to Docker Hub, but that doesn't tell me what my company's already got. Do I have to go to each of those sites and now search? And Helm Search has kind of provided that ability to look through your stuff. And with OCI stuff, you don't get that functionality. Then you have to deal with things like, how do I look at the different versions and do resolutions over those versions? And Adam just dropped something in there about indexes and semver ranges and stuff like that. When you're trying to deal with resolving stuff to the right version, how do you deal with doing that? And we'll probably have to get into OCI tags and some of that stuff, but it's, how do you look at that? And there's other problems that I've been trying to solve and build on top of Helm, where I can take an index and I can look at the metadata for all the chart versions, and then I can do some computations across that. And I either have to pull down all of those versions or get a fully populated index. How else do I get that information about all this stuff in order to calculate things? And OCI registries just don't provide that level of stuff.
Well, there is one thing. If you know the namespace or you know the repo, you can actually list all the tags, and they're paginated. We added pagination, so like you can do 10 at a time. It's not like ideal. But yeah, if you're trying to find like what are all the images in this, or all the charts in this like parent namespace, that's not possible. But if people can register with like Artifact Hub, here's like Nginx and here's this, Artifact Hub can loop over this tag list API and find new versions technically.
Yeah, in fact, because of some of this, Artifact Hub, we've talked about generating indexes for certain things. And like they did with Chart Center, right? They did these giant index files. The problem, of course, becomes performance, because you're parsing YAML, and YAML parsing performance sucks on memory use for these large index files, right? You get yourself like an 8 meg index file and try to parse it, because you can have anchors and point to other things. And the libraries are not efficient at it, because it's a mess. It's not like you can stream parse JSON, because it doesn't have anchors in it. And so it just really sucks. And this may be a time to also look at finally implementing index.json with a fallback to index.yaml in Helm to try to deal with some of that performance. But that's one of those things over in Artifact Hub we've been tinkering around with, the idea of, do we, like for all the verified artifacts, Helm charts, do we offer an index file? because they're the ones that are verified. But then that'll continue to grow. And then how do you deal with that performance? Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to note one quick thing. I have a question, but I can also hold it that relates to this. But because I just wanted to say, because there are two more topics on the agenda, do we want to time box this one?
Yeah.
So we can get to the other two?
And we can continue this next week or elsewhere.
Okay. Okay, then I'll hold my question about. Actually, screw it. It's only like a 10-second question. Actually, Matt, Farina, you're probably the best one to answer this. So, charts. You initially implemented some of the a lot of the weird Simver logic stuff in Helm 3, right? If I recall correctly.
Helm 2.
Or Helm
it's been
2,
there
rather,
for a
yeah.
very long time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I guess there was no big change in Helm. Okay. We support Helm versions support Simver metadata, right? But OCI registry tags do not. Is that correct? Like the plus. I don't know how many people use it, but isn't that the case? Can someone keep me honest there?
I do recall something along those lines that character was not allowed as a tag. Yeah. And Butcher seems to confirm that too.
Yeah, and I don't want to open up the big conversation about this now, but just because we were talking about this topic, I can note it for next time. I just wanted to at least clear that up and say maybe we can discuss next time how we want to approach that problem. Okay. Thanks. Was that it? Okay, it sounds like that's it for this one. Okay, Adam, you're next up on the annotations.
Yeah, an issue came up this week that I just wanted to bring up. So if in a Helm chart, if one of your objects is a Kubernetes list object, and you use annotations on objects within that list for like the retention policy, so you want to keep those objects, they are not respected. So when Helm first parses the objects, it only looks at the top level object and looks for those annotations. So if you put a keep annotation on the list, it will keep the entire list. If you put keep annotations on anything in the list, Helm just ignores it. When we do the parsing initially, we don't use the Kubernetes client directly, which does the flattening of list objects into individual objects. We just do our own parsing. Then we do the sorting and all that from those parsed objects. And then later on, we actually use the Kubernetes client to do the final parsing, which gives individual objects. So I'm not quite sure the best way to approach this. One option I thought of is, do we cascade it down? Like if a top level list has annotations, do we automatically put them on the individual objects so we know when deleting them, or that would probably be a breaking change. So I'm not sure the best approach to this, and I wanted to see if anybody else had ideas.
Yeah, I'm wondering, could we do a content negotiation with the list to expand it into the objects early on and then break that out into a new function call, like separate from where we're taking just the manifest of the list and sending it over to the Cube client? Or because I think if I'm like understanding your question correctly, I think that might be the quickest and cleanest way, because everything downward would not change. It would just be the ahead of time expanding the list into its real resources, and then we're just passing that along to the Cube client. Or am I misinterpreting
it's actually a significant change, because then we need to handle all the Cube client stuff much earlier on. Because we calculate if we want to ignore something at like the first step, like before we even bother setting up a client. And I'm not thinking of any other annotations that we use. But it's a significant code change. It's going to be big to do it there. But I'm not too crazy about the idea of manually updating all the, like, parsing and then checking to see if it's a list, then going into individual objects.
Yeah, I agree, because that relies on the particular list API, and I'm assuming that if we change, probably would not be able to handle API version upgrades. We'd basically have to maintain that if there was like a API version v2 list, right?
Yeah.
Quick moderator question. Quick point of order question. We have like less than a minute left. Should we say that we should follow up on this issue and circle back next week?
Yeah, or if anybody has thoughts on it, if they want to update the issue.
Okay, awesome. So thank you. I didn't mean to cut that short, but we just,
it's your show.
Yeah. Bridget was asking the essential end of meeting question. Anybody want to volunteer as triage? I mean tribute. Thanks, Bridget. So I volunteered for notes.
I can do triage.
Okay, cool.
So for sure.
All right. Then I guess in that case, I'll save the discussion just in case we need it. And thanks everyone for this lovely chat. It's top of the hour. We'll see you next week. We'll see you on Slack, and we'll see you in the issues.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.